There's literally dirt pouring out of this engine.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. Red Georgia clay.
Nice. Yeah,
it just keeps coming.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, it is another night here in the shop. Me and Moby are hanging out, getting a little work done. He's supervising as always. I'm actually gonna start checking out the small block a little more. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the intake manifold off and inspect that. I'm gonna look down in each of the exhaust ports, make sure nothing is in there, because this engine has been sitting out without anything covering them for like 40 years. So who knows if a kid stuffed anything down in there. I'm gonna pull the carb off, and I'm also gonna try to bolt on the flex plate and the bell housing so that we can actually add the starter to this engine and hopefully run it here on a pallet. We have a buddy bringing over some exhaust manifolds that I also believe are gonna work in the car for like $100, so things are coming together. I'm gonna put you guys on a time lapse and start digging into this thing, and I'll show you what I find if I find anything interesting.
Moby and I went ahead and took the top of the motor apart just so we could see what's going on. You can see there's a little bit of junk in here, and the story is this motor has about 70,000 miles on it in theory, which looks about right, but I'm glad I took everything apart rather than just trying to start it, because yeah, all this stuff is loose. Basically, the lifters aren't pumped up at all, and also I don't think these were ever set. So we're gonna have to adjust some valves and clean this thing out a little bit, but nothing looks catastrophic. The engine turns over nicely. I will say the distributor is incomplete. It doesn't have the gear on it. Honestly, it looks like the end isn't even quite right. There's some things to figure out in addition to there not being any points or anything inside. Yeah, there's definitely some stuff missing, but that's okay. It's a good base, and I think we have a good motor. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the #1 spark plug and put this thing at TDC. Then we'll worry about whatever comes next, because obviously we're not just gonna stick a starter on this thing and fire it up based on what I'm finding. Needs a little more attention before we get to that. Right, bud? So looking into this thing further, if you look through the spark plug hole, that piston says 0.040 on it. So it is bored 40 over, and it's also a 302. The casting number on the side says it's out of a 68 Mustang or truck.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's not a 289. The story is not exactly adding up.
Hey, 3 cubic inches.
Yeah, so it's bored 40 over and it's 302, so that's a lot of extra cubic inches over a 289. My buddy Ethan stopped by. He's the resident Ford expert, and he brought over some manifolds for it. So these are Sanderson block hugger shorty headers, and that's what we're gonna run on it. But it's definitely not a 289. It's definitely got some miles on it, and there's some weird stuff, like all the rockers are loose, a couple of the studs have moved out a little bit, there's broken off bolts. I got a little work to do to make it run, but I still think we got a decent deal on it. It's not gonna run tonight, that's for sure.
No.
Maybe in a week or two. There's a little bit more work to do than we anticipated. Well, it's another night here in the shop, and we're doing a little more work on the 302. Was supposed to be a 289, but the story is developing, and it's actually bored 40 over, like we said earlier. It actually ends up being like a 307. So more cubic inches for free, but obviously not a 65 fastback engine. We've gone ahead and replaced the Ford manifold with an Edelbrock manifold, just because I think they're a little better. That Ford manifold that's over there was probably like factory in the 80s. This will do a little better. Granted, heads and cam, not really gonna matter unless we upgrade those. I did find out some of the valves are a little sticky, so I've been putting some oil on them and coming through and tapping them with a hammer to get them to actually free up. You see they don't pop back up.
They're a lot sticky.
So trying to run this thing with the valve not acting like valves wouldn't work.
That's not good.
That was a brass hammer, by the way. It's kind of frowned upon to do that with a steel hammer. You could also use kind of like a
dead blow or a rubber mallet, but I like a brass hammer personally. We have some things to figure out on the engine, and one of the things I found out when I was taking it apart is the distributor had no internals in it, no gear, so it's literally just a shaft. This thing wouldn't do anything without a complete rebuild.
We got shafted.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think we still got a good base to work with. And we got this whole ignition system kit from the scratch and dent section at Summit via our friend Ethan. He bought this years ago and has had it sitting around. So we're gonna throw it on the car. Apparently it's like some Speedmaster kit, but it's got an electronic pickup instead of points. It's all built in, has the module on it. We'll see how it acts, but it's complete, and that's what counts. Basically, I'm just gonna go through this thing a little more, make sure it spins over, make sure all the valves are adjusted. I went ahead and pulled all the rockers off so that I can, you know, have at this thing and make sure it's gonna be good before we put a starter on it and hope for the best. You always wanna investigate before you just try to start things. If we had tried to start it with all the stuck valves and everything, we definitely would have heard it.
That wouldn't be good.
Nope.
So we do have another set of heads. That might be an option should it come down to it. Jake has sprayed some penetrating oil in there, and they should loosen up with a little bit of that. In addition to the headers we already got, I've bought a starter, a oil pump drive shaft, which goes off the bottom of the distributor, and got a 4-speed with an overdrive top loader. Yeah, this is kind of a critical part. Small, but essential. Anyway, pressure plate, clutch, got some made in the USA motor mounts.
Unfortunately, it wasn't as ready to run as we expected, but you know, that's okay. We're gonna go through it, make sure it's good, make it run here, and then put it in the car. But we got a lot of the pieces, and that's what counts. We have decided the valves are a little too sticky, so we're gonna pull the intake manifold back off, which I just put on earlier. Hey, the RTV came off pretty nicely. And then we're gonna pull the heads and kind of either replace them or go through them off the engine, unfortunately. And at that point, you might as well pull the oil pan and inspect the bottom end. So at this point, it's probably gonna get a dingle ball rebuild because that's just the way it goes. You get a case of the might as wells while you're in there. We're definitely at that point.
But we're gonna do a dingle ball rebuild with the pistons in it.
I don't know.
We don't really care.
I care. You don't care, I care.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
So what are you doing there, Jake?
I'm trying to turn the old distributor into something to prime oil just to see if this thing even works at all before we take the heads off. And I need to take this top piece off the distributor, but it's proving difficult. There's a little like ring, a snap ring type deal in here.
We don't have a socket we can just throw on there.
It doesn't really fit as well as I hoped it would. I tried that already. I'm sure there's some special tool out there that Ford guys all have.
Maybe we just need a drill with a big chuck on it.
That's a big chuck, because that's like over ½ inch.
Jake's never gonna get a job as a lock picker.
Yeah, this does feel a lot like lock picking. This is very interesting. So I think we need 3 picks to make it happen.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I don't think you filming is gonna help us. I think you just need to do it. See that little thing come out the backside?
Yeah.
If you can hook that somehow.
Got it.
No, you're on the outside of it. You need to be on the inside of it.
Maybe
You were on the inside right there because it was staying.
I'm gonna grab my glasses. Old man stuff.
He's an old man. He needs his glasses. So it's hard to see. You can't see it without a light. There's a little like weird clip in here, kind of like a C-clip, but it's got little ears on it. And you gotta kind of pry those ears apart, and then that thing in theory can lift off of there. And this whole shaft moves separate from it. So we'd be able to put a drill on that. Easy.
There you go.
So we'll see. 20 minutes later of us trying to do this. So there's the stupid little clip we were talking about. I don't know why you would make it that way.
Pretty smart clip.
But that in theory should come off of there now, because you can see it moves up and down. And I think that's all that's retaining it. Slightly barbaric. Not how you're supposed to use a pickle fork, but you know.
A pickle fork. Is that what they call that?
That's exactly what that is.
It doesn't want to come off. We're like some cavemen over here. This is insane.
I thought that was all that was holding it.
It's trying to lift up on the innards. It's lifting up on that bottom plate. All right. Back to our regularly scheduled dysfunction. Wow. That took way too long. Look, the centrifugal weights are underneath. That's a little different, Ford. Henry, what were you thinking?
Everything about that was way more difficult than a Chevy distributor.
That's not spinning now. Why isn't it spinning?
Because you're weak.
Let's see if we got oil pressure. Oil oozing up.
Where is the...
That might make a difference.
I was wondering why it got harder and then easier. I need more hands. Any all coming out of those lifters?
Don't pull them. The lifters are moving, so, you know, got a good timing chain.
There might not be enough oil. It sounds like it might be pulling air.
How much did you put in there?
A couple quarts.
We got any old oil anywhere? All right, so we're pouring old oil in the engine. See if we got oil circulating through the engine. Not that it's going to do anything for our sticky valves. I'm not sure really why we're doing this. Why are we doing this?
I don't know. I just want to see if it has some sort of life.
See if something's working right on it.
Yeah.
Because so far, nothing is.
This is the old oil out of the service truck. I just changed the oil, so technically there's nothing wrong with it. It's just old. The internet's screaming right now.
Our buddy Freedom Works would approve of this. How many RPMs is that engine running?
That's at least a few hundred.
Maybe there's not an oil pump in there. Oh!
Apparently,
We hit an artery.
apparently it spins the other way. So apparently you spin counterclockwise on a Ford. I should probably look that up.
Yep, it's running out the lifters now. We can see that.
I guess it oils the rear first based on how aggressive it's shooting out the rear.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's finally getting to the front. I can't go very fast or it'll
Exciting stuff.
really shoot out.
For those who didn't know, your camshaft has a gear on the front of it, in this case with the distributor in the front, and it connects to the distributor, and then there's a rod that goes down to the oil pump that spins that as your motor's spinning, and that's how you get oil pressure. And look at all that beautiful oil.
I don't know if beautiful is the right word, but it's oil and that's a good thing.
So you see that? Maybe we showed you that earlier, 302, not 289. So the 302 was introduced in 1968.
Yeah, it's an early 68 or 69 because it doesn't have like the positive stop, like pedestal rockers to where you tighten them all the way.
Yeah.
These you have to actually set manually and they have a lock nut essentially on them. And at least has some sort of oil flow.
Yeah. And we might end up putting some 289 heads on it. Does that matter?
Depends. See, chamber size and all that might increase compression ratio. I don't know. But now we got ourselves an oiling tool for a Ford small block.
We might become a Ford shop yet. There you go. That's what's going on when your motor's running. Actually,
Then it goes up the push rods.
The oil comes up through the push rods and oils the top end. It doesn't just squirt out like this. Some of it is going to come out from around the push rods, but a lot of it's going to come up through the hole in the push rods to oil all of this valve train assembly. Exciting
What happens if I put it on
stuff.
high?
Sounds like the motor's about to blow.
That's just the insides of the distributor down here being unhappy.
Yeah, we need to oil the distributor. And on Fords, they actually have a little oiling hole for the distributor. Isn't that fancy?
Well, at least does something it's supposed to do. It pumps oil.
Yeah.
So if you're ever trying to prime your Ford small block, counterclockwise is the move.
Yeah.
I learned something new today.
The Ford world spins backwards.
nice.
All right, so now we're about to yank some heads off this thing. Cut to the Tim lapse.
So rather than a running engine at the end of the night, we have a more disassembled engine. That's the way it goes sometimes with cars. You think it's gonna work out one way, but it doesn't. You can see the 040 pistons, so it's 40 over. There is no crosshatch in here whatsoever. There are dirt dauber's nests in the water jackets. See, there's literally, they're jam full of dirt. So that's nice. But there isn't a big lip or anything, so it hasn't been run a ton since it was rebuilt, but enough to, you know, glaze the cylinder walls. But that can also be partly your tune-up. If you're running too rich, you're washing the oil off the cylinder walls. And it's just not good. We'll figure out our plan going forward. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do. We'll obviously clean up the heads and rebuild them, new valve seals, and at least lap the valves. We may actually send them to get a real proper valve job.
Or stick our other heads on there.
Well, I don't know if they're any better.
Yeah, we're gonna check those. But we can also dingle ball these by putting the piston at bottom dead center and just running it in there and put a little crosshatch on there.
Not what you're supposed to do.
That would help with compression and sealing and all of that.
That is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
But people do it.
We'll see how
far we go.
It's either that or pull out all the pistons, pull out the crank, all that. That sounds like a lot of work. We have an old Granada up in the yard that needs a distributor, and now we have a new distributor. So, you know, I might go that route and just leave this thing in pieces.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah. I think it wouldn't take a ton to make this run, but it's about how nice you want it to be when you're done. The real question is, does oil spray out of anywhere?
I'm getting out of the way.
I guess it just goes to the top end of the push rods. Some Fords actually have like a shaft rocker assembly and they lubricate through like the rocker arm assembly. This doesn't have a shaft rocker arm assembly, so. But yeah, there's no.
I mean, it goes into the crank, it goes into the crank bearings and the piston bearings and goes up the connecting rods and lubricates the pins.
Yeah, so we could have pulled the heads and then turned it to see. But
this is exciting stuff. We have an oil pump that's running and that's all.
Yep, that's the only part that's running. Does it count? The distributor's spinning, it has oil pressure. Is it running?
This is a lame night, lame night.
Will it run? No, but it'll at least do something.
We are not starting 2024 off properly.
It's not 2024.
I know, but it's about to be. It's December 27th.
This video has devolved into complete anarchy and none of it makes any sense. So
yeah.
If you're still watching, we do appreciate it because this is ridiculous and none of this has been entertaining or informative probably. You've watched two idiots work on a Ford small block for the first time ever.
Well, this is typical of a Ford, isn't it? Not running?
In pieces, not running? Yeah, that's it.
Just kidding, just kidding.
If you like Ford versus Chevy, drop it in the comments. Let's get some, controversy going.
So while we're talking about it, what should we name the car?
I like your name that you came up with. I feel obligated to call it Mustang Sally, but we're already Sally Speed Shop, so we can't do that. So I think the one you came up with wins. The Mustang Trash Bag. It's pretty good. It is definitely kind of a pile of garbage right now.
Yeah, I think that name's gonna stick.
So it's escalating further. We've decided to pull the oil pan off and see what we're dealing with inside the bottom end. It's definitely a little gross in there. There's some chunks.
But it could be dirt daubers or whatever, because apparently wasps have been inside this motor.
Let's spin it a little bit so we can look at it. Spin it your way.
Well, yeah, okay.
Ooh, there's dirt. Did it fall out of the water jackets?
Yeah, they could have been yellow jackets in the water jackets.
Yeah, there's literally dirt pouring out of this engine.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. Red Georgia clay.
Nice. Yeah,
It just keeps coming.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Well, you know when
Let's
they
see.
cast,
Hang on. Well, I got most of it out.
but when they cast these, there's actually dirt in those jackets.
Oh yeah,
It
but it's not
maintains
supposed to stay in
that.
there.
Right.
It's actually pretty clean down here.
It'll be fine.
Like the engine is not gunked up at all. Is the
Yeah.
nice thing. It's not like it wasn't. You know, it didn't have regular oil changes and stuff. Any of the
Yeah, do we
bearings.
have any play?
have any play?
2-bolt main, which I don't know if
I don't think they had a 4-bolt main in the Ford small block or anything. You could tell you're used to Chevys.
And your
That's
screen
pretty
is
clean,
pretty
yeah.
clean.
So I think all of that junk in the bottom has been from it sitting, not from it running. The timing chain is completely dry, which I guess stuff's got to be spinning around to fling oil up there.
Yeah, but if he's just turning it over by hand, it should be fine, right?
Oh yeah, that's not gonna hurt it. Can you see anything about the pistons? There's a part number on them. I don't see a brand anywhere. Yeah, pretty clean overall. I will say we've definitely opened up a can of worms, and now we're probably going to do way more than we were planning on, because that's just the way it goes once you get to this point.
I think we throw our 289 heads on it, and we got to check those too, though.
You want something that smokes because it doesn't have a good ring seal? I don't.
No.
You want
So-
something that smokes every time you fire it up because the valve seals are junk? Nope. We're definitely going to check the bearings and reseal the motor. But I'm imagining the pistons and rods are probably going to come out, at least give it a proper dingle ball hone, some new rings, some new bearings, because once you're at this point, you might as well do at least rings and bearings, because then you pretty much have a fresh engine.
Yeah, you're not that far out.
Yeah,
from-
combine that with an oil pump, a hot rod camshaft, some aluminum heads, all the good stuff. And then you have a high performance motor.
This was supposed to be like, we were trying to do the cheapest build we possibly could, and it's not going.
We
that
still
way.
could if we pull the 302 out of the Granada and it runs.
I think that's what we got to try. Yeah, we can build this, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Because we have a distributor now that the 302 and the Granada needs, and
This is a really good core. It's just got some age and some miles on it. But the oil was changed regularly, so it's clean inside, which is really nice. It just has dirt in the water jackets. So I think that's kind of going to probably be it for this engine on this episode, because it's not going to run anytime soon.
no.
So if you want to see more stupidity like this where nothing goes to plan, you've just hit that subscribe button down there and you'll get to follow along on all our shenanigans as we hang out in the shop, go on adventures, and do hopefully cooler stuff than this, because this did not go well. But maybe instead of getting this running, we'll focus on getting the Granada running, pull that engine out, put it in the fastback, and have a cheap fastback like we planned, because this one got a little more expensive.
The goal is a dirt cheap trash bag.
Yep. Anyway, thanks for watching as always. Drop a comment, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. I know I already said that, but it does a lot more for us than you know, and we would greatly appreciate it. So that's going to wrap it up. Me and Moby are signing off for the night, and we're going to go for a car ride, find some dog treats, and see you guys on the next one.